Good morning. I just posted a reel, so after this you can go check it out, about the trends. The trends, not even in the sense of like this sound is trendy, but think of trends like when we think back to like fashion trends and things like that. I was a preteen and teenager coming into my own in the 2000s, that 2004 to 2010. I graduated in 2010. I went to college in like 2010, where it was figuring out a way to get the pencil thin eyebrows. And now it's like trying to grow them in. That's not where I'd still like them to be a little shapely, right? Doing the pencil thin eyebrows, hating plucking them myself. So trying to finagle a razor, because this was before those like nice little tiny razors now exist, like the little dermaplane ones and the ones you can use for like small hairs. And literally trying to finagle a regular razor to shave my eyebrows like here and here until they were like paper thin, and like accidentally shaving off half my eyebrow. And the layering, right? The layering of the camis, going to Aeropostale and picking out every single color they had that season, and then layering it with your fancy cami with the lace, and adding the polo on top, and adding the double polo for 2 pops of color, right? And these trends help you feel like you belong. And what I mean by that is, think of when these different trends came to you, whatever that trend was, when you were in that preteen, that teenage era of, I want to belong. I want people to look at me and know that I belong here, right? And that was layering the camis. You see that girl doing it, I'm going to do it. Regina George. She cuts the holes in it. Well, she doesn't cut the holes in her boobies, but she gets the holes in the shirt. Everyone wants to do it. It's a sense of belonging. And what happens after that trend has faded? All of a sudden, there is a complete switch of, instead of trying to belong, now you are in this fear of being like a fashion faux pas, right? This idea that now it is cringe for me to, if I layered on 7 camis today, first off, my overstimulation would kill me. But if I layered on 7 camis right now, someone look at me like, girl, what you doing? What you doing? Right? And the pencil thin eyebrows, like we're all growing our eyebrows back in, and now we're like looking for that in between of like the pencil thin and then the overcorrection back in 2011, 2012, when we all went like really thick and blocky. But we overcorrect, or we have this feeling where we are now, instead, as we say now, cringe. You are behind. It is something that someone is now going to be like, she doesn't even know what's going on, right? And it now has created this opposite sense. Instead of belonging, you feel left out, you feel behind, you feel stuck. And when that comes to social media, right? So there are the different trends, and everyone was learning the Apple dance this summer, right? And after all the influencers did it and people started doing it, it was now, we've moved on, guys. And no one wanted to see the Apple dance. No one wanted to see it anymore. So now we've created this sense of belonging that has now alienated us if we are not the first person in the trend. And how this applies to your social media is, unless you are part of that first wave, the benefits, this sense of belonging, but the sense of setting the trend is lost, because now you are blending in with everyone else doing it, but it's now become the thing to do that there's no way to stick out, right? You're blending in because you've created the sense of belonging. And it's more than just, okay, I like the trends because it's easy to do, right? Because this is going to go back to the fashion piece, right? When you were layering your camis, you saw the one girl and she did maybe like a cami and then a lace cami, and then she added like the chunky necklace, right? And you saw someone else do a polo with the second polo, but then they added like a scarf, right? And we add these other things, and we get to see what we like about trends and what is in there besides the comfort, the idea of belonging. We get to see how other people do it. So we put off adopting these trends because we need examples of how people are doing it. And that is going to attribute to that late to the trend, right? And when it comes to trends in social media, if you are relying on these trends to be the main piece of your content, because again, you get to see how other people are applying it to their content. You're sitting there still trying to figure out how to use your offer to talk about your your offer, your services inside of this trend because, hey, it's relatable. Everyone wants to watch this trend. And in that time, it takes you from seeing the trend, recognizing that it's a trend, seeing everyone else hop on it, seeing how other people are twisting it. By the time you have now adopted that trend, we are at a point where we are all trended out, right? And with that, if you are someone that can recognize a trend before it starts, if you are someone that is an early adopter where you are able to really get into this idea of like acknowledging trends before they're truly trendy, you can get that boost of, I am one of the first people to do this. I am a person setting the trend. I am predicting these trends and being able to hop on at that early adopter signal, which is going to give you that boost in the metrics. But again, long term, unless you were the early adopter that goes viral, the early adopter that everyone is looking to for an example, it is still going to be lost in the noise. And with that, right? So as we grow our eyebrows back in, as we unlayer and become the overstimulated mom that cannot even put on a winter jacket. I had to put a winter jacket on yesterday to go outside and play in the snow. And I was so uncomfortable. I was so toasty, but it was weighing whether I wanted to be warm or if I wanted to be comfortable because I was so uncomfortable and I felt like the kid in A Christmas Story, like, can't move my arms or anything, can't walk. It was so uncomfortable, right? So as we grow our eyebrows back in, as we adopt our new trends, it's this idea that how do we create our own space? How do we create this way to stand out without being not cringe, but how do we change that perspective of cringe, right? And this is where that original content comes in and infusing your own personality, your own sense of humor. If you are like, girl, I'm not funny. Okay, what is your personality type? How do you infuse your personality? How do you infuse relevancy and relatability into your content? And that doesn't come from adopting every trend. That comes from really understanding a few things about yourself and your dreamy client. And if you have trouble infusing these pieces of personality, infusing the humor, infusing how to make content relatable, relevant, current, and this idea of standing out while being something that people can see and understand, right? If you struggle with that, it's not because your content is inauthentic. It's because you need to go back to the drawing board. And what I mean by that is you need to be so able to clearly identify your services as offers. Your dreamy client, who are they? What have they tried? What have they struggled with? What are they trying to do? And how it all relates, why it's not working for them. Where do you come in? Where do you come in to them, right? To help them get past that pain point, past that struggle. And understanding those things clearly so that you can infuse the personality, infuse the relatability without having to rely on a trend to be relatable, to fit in. Because as we see this influx of people hanging out on social media, it's harder and harder to stick out if you're not bringing in the personality. And 2025, as these changes come to, like, the social media world is crazy right now, right? We all had like a whirlwind of a week. And as we come into this, if you want to land clients from your content, if you want to attract dreamy clients with your content, it is not about being an early adopter anymore. It is about sticking out and showing off who you are inside of your content and why that piece connects to your dreamy client. What else? Sense of belong, right? Here's the other piece with that. And this is what the other piece I want to connect this to, right? If you do not clearly know those things, right? We don't clearly know who our person is, what our offer is, how to like specifically describe it. We come back to that moment of at the holiday table and you don't You can't explain what you do to your family, right? And this is that same idea, but just in a different lens of, if you do not know your ideal client, if you do not know your offer inside and out in a way that you can be relatable without relying on a trend to explain what you do, who you are, what you do for your dreamy clients, who your dreamy client is, if you cannot explain it to your mom, your mother-in-law, your 8-year-old nephew, your Uncle Billy, right? If you cannot explain that in terms that they can access, like, that are relatable to them, relevant to them, then you're going to continue to struggle, and you're going to continue to struggle to put your spin into your content. So, while trends do create a sense of belonging, a sense of going with the flow, a sense of like, I am someone that is trendy, which means you should be looking at me like, I'm popular. I'm the popular girl that's come up with the trend, right? Instead of creating that sense of belonging, you are now in this sense of, I am always behind. No one's liking my content, even though I am doing the trendy thing. So, leaving you with that nugget today. Let me know what questions you have. Let me know if you're catching the replay, and let me know what trends you wish would go away.